headlines. That's Hadley Engelhart, agent to the stars. I'm Matt Chernoff. I just call myself a friend of Hadley's.
You're better than that.
We have a busy show for you today. A lot of good topics to get into. Plus, we will talk to the agent for Mike Tyson, Andrew Ruff. This show drops, which is on a Friday. Tonight is fight night for Jake Paul and Mike Tyson in Dallas on Netflix. So we'll get into all the ins and outs of that with Andrew coming up a little bit later on in the show. And Hadley, I think that's actually a great place to start. There's a lot of interest in what is going to be probably not a great fight, but it's going to be a spectacle. For those who don't know, tonight on Netflix, if you're hearing this on Friday, it is Jake Paul and Mike Tyson. It is going to be in Dallas. And again, it is, quote, free if you're a Netflix subscriber. But here's where I want to start with this, Hadley. I saw the reported purses for both fighters. Jake Paul's is listed at $40 million. Mike Tyson's at $20 million. There will be some advertising revenue brought in, and Netflix believes they're going to get 25 million viewers to watch this. How are we monetizing this, and how is there going to be a return on investment for Netflix if the purses are that big, and then the cost of production is obviously going to go along with it?
First of all, this is a minimum 40 and 20 million. And when we talked to Andrew, not a bad payday for him either.
I've heard those agents get their cut, yeah.
Listen, Netflix was smart about this. I mean, listen, they're getting great advertising with this. They're going to pick up some big sponsors. And I think it's just an add-on to their existing viewership, as well as they're going to pick up some new viewers. And I think it's big picture for Netflix. And, I don't know if it's a home run for them, but I think Jerry's World paid a handsome sum to have it there. I think it's going to be a spectacle. I'm a big fight fan. And so I hope, unlike you said earlier, it's not going to be a great fight.
My expectations are not exactly high for a 58-year-old against a guy who's fought 10 fights.
Yeah, listen, I think it's going to be a great first round. I really, really do. Maybe second round.
And then as the gas tanks are empty, yeah.
Correct. Then I think it's all bets are off, no pun intended there. I think it's going to be a great for boxing, and I think it's going to be great for Mike Tyson. I know we'll talk more about what this means for Mike Tyson beyond just this fight, and also talk about how Jake Paul still benefits from his influencer fame and able to do these things. But for Netflix, I think it's a great opportunity for them to further their brand. Old and young, you're going to have the new age group of Jake Paul fans, and then the old fight fans like me and you, per se.
Well, it's funny you bring that up because I thought the same thing. This is a generational battle.
Yeah.
Right? For those who don't remember when Fight Night was a great night. I mean, there was a Saturday night almost every week of the year where it was a heavyweight fight or it was a middleweight fight. It was just get together with a bunch of guys, right? Pay-per-view, and everybody would watch these great fights. And we haven't had that in a very long time. In fact, we pivoted to UFC, becoming what everybody gets into now as far as their fight fix. But to have Jake Paul, who is a YouTube sensation, to have Mike, who's 58, who's going to bring nostalgia for a lot of guys like you and me, it is a battle of who you're rooting for in your age. Your age will tell a lot in what's going to happen here. Is this a one-off? Could they do it again? I mean, Mike's 58. Is this Netflix getting more into the fight game? Like, are there some offshoots that can come from this?
I don't think so. I think this is a one-off. I mean, could there be another one? But I think this is an anomaly. I mean, listen, Mike Tyson is iconic, maybe the greatest boxer of all time, if not one of the greatest boxers. And you're exactly right. MMA is now in the front news, and it's what everyone talks about. My kids all watch MMA. Your kids watch it, So, but I do think most of the fans out there are rooting for Mike Tyson. I really believe that, regardless of your age and your background and your boxing experience. I think it's something that, Mike Tyson is just great, and today's young generation knows of Mike Tyson. They've seen film of Mike Tyson, but they've seen him in the movies. They've seen him do some great stuff.
He's in The Hangover.
Correct. I mean, listen, my kids talk about that. I mean, so, and I think this further parlays, he's in the marijuana business. He's about branding, and he gets it. And his wife's is his business partner, which I'm sure Andrew will talk about. And so they have a plan in place. They really do. And I think this is great for Mike. And, I'm just hopeful that he doesn't get hurt. And I hope he whoops the other guy's tail. I really do.
We'll talk to Andrew Ruff, Mike Tyson's agent, about this coming up shortly. A couple of other things, though, I wanted to touch on. So during the NFL broadcast in their international game on Sunday morning, Roger Goodell was on the NFL Network, the commissioner, and he talked about where this is now going and what the leagues want to be an international brand, even bigger globally, that he expects to add 8 more international games next season. He talked about London, Spain, Brazil, Mexico City, and Germany. Also a potential for Dublin, Ireland. So now you take the big picture that the NFL's view over the next 10 years to renegotiate the CBA, which will include an international game almost every week, 16 games minimum, expand to an 18-game schedule, right? Sign another $100 billion TV deal, which, Hadley, that's where I wanted to start with the international games. While it gives them the global footprint, I think the bigger win is they're going to get a whole new 3 hours of real estate from 9 to 9:30 in the morning till 12:30, which means the NFL will have 4 TV windows on Sunday as they look to find more land that they can sell. In this case, it's the international window.
Yeah, let me add to that. So I'm moving into the family law business because I think there's going to be a lot of divorces with regard to the 9 a.m. to midnight framework on Sundays, let alone Saturdays with college football. But all kidding aside, the timing of this is great because yesterday, I can't go into details, but the NFLPA had our biannual agent conference call yesterday. We have an in-person one at the Combine. And so yesterday they talked about the future of the international game, and it is getting only bigger. I mean, there are talks about potentially Japan, Australia. So they're trying to make this even more global than it already is. And so it will further make the brand bigger. It will make the next CBA, the next TV deal, even that much larger, which means more money to the owners. Mm-hmm. And obviously there's a trickle-down effect, more money to the players. As much as the players don't love the international game because of the travel and the tax consequences, but I think it's something that it's real. It's not going away. We have to embrace it, and we have to understand that it's part of the future plan. The 18 games is definitely going to happen.
Agreed.
And so it's something that, fans, it's great for fans. And it's great for the betting market. It's another, it's really a wonderful thing for the brand. And I see it growing. And again, there's things that I talked about yesterday where like England and Germany have already mastered it. Brazil, it's still a work in progress. And they talked about the field, the way they do stuff, but it takes time to get there. And I think eventually they will. And I think these other countries will become part of the global NFL brand.
So the next possibility is expansion. I mean, the league's going to expand at some point. I mean, just the way it goes, the owners get their big fee for the expansion. It brings in more television markets. And I still wonder, because nobody ever knows when to say when. There was a point where the NFL had 14 games. They're like, we're never going to 16. We're never going to 18. Hadley, I do think at some point we're going to completely eliminate preseason. We're going to have scrimmages between teams who already do this now.
Correct.
And they treat them more seriously than the preseason. I don't know when. I can see them going to 20 games at some point, and they don't care about the product dipping. They just want more content and more stuff to sell. Because let's be honest, I love the NFL, so do you. The games have not been great. The injuries of these rosters, they keep getting larger and all of a sudden more watered down. So when we go to 20 games and add 2 more teams, the game might not be great, but we have more content.
Yeah, I don't know if and when that'll happen to 20 games because it took a while to go from 14 to 18. So it's going to be a while because we're not even at 18 yet officially. But and I also think there'll always be at least one preseason game because it gives these young undrafted guys a chance to play and get some film. So I really think that, and there's been mixed results about teams that did not use starters and struggled early on versus teams that played a little bit of their starters in the preseason and did well early on in the season. So I think it's going to be a balancing act. It's all going to be part of the negotiations in the collective bargaining agreement. I don't think, and there's no talks about anything beyond 18 games. Again, we're not there yet, but I do see that happening, and I do see this international market growing. I don't see a team going into the international market in the near future. Although that would be the next obvious step. There's too many obstacles to overcome with the travel, with trying out players, with a lot of different factors. Do I say no to that permanently? Probably not, but I don't see that happening in the near future.
Well, in lieu of that, let's have a game every week to cover the footprint for as many international markets as possible. Correct. All right, I want to talk to you a little bit later on in the show about Deion Sanders, who all of a sudden is starting to hear rumors about his NFL future because he's starting to rack up some bonuses for success in Colorado, so we'll ask Hadley about that. Plus the NBA Cup. How's the big business of the NBA? We'll cover that. But coming up next, Mike Tyson's agent, Andrew Ruff, will join us to talk about Fight Night. It's Jake Paul. It's Mike Tyson. We'll get all the business angles of it next. All right, we continue with Deals and Deadlines. Hadley and Matt back with you. It is fight night, which means Jake Paul, Mike Tyson happening tonight. We're lucky enough to have the agent for Mike Tyson, Andrew Ruff, who's joining us right now on Deals and Deadlines. Andrew, we know it's a busy day. Thanks for carving out some time. How are you?
You got it. Yes, it's been a very, very busy and productive week here in Dallas.
All right, so let's talk about, there's so many angles of this. I'm going to get into your wallet. I'm going to get into Mike's wallet because I'm reading reports of the purse.
Good luck with that.
Well, I mean, I got to try. So I saw, Andrew, that Jake Paul's purse was reported at $40 million. Mike's was at $20 million. Tell me about the negotiations. Are those numbers even close? And is that where we're starting from? And could the numbers jump from there?
So I will say this. None of the numbers that have been bandied about, either on the low side or the high side, are accurate. I'm not going to go into what the compensation is for Mike Tyson, but I will tell you that both of the fighters are shoulder to shoulder on this event. The deal is absolutely comparable to what would be negotiated typically on a pay-per-view side of things, and we're very, very happy with the compensation model, both with MVP and with Netflix.
Andrew, what was the thought process in working with Netflix as opposed to direct pay-per-view? Because obviously the pay-per-view there's people are paying to watch the fight. Netflix, I would assume most of the people watching the fight already are subscribers. So what was the thought process in going down that path?
Well, I will walk you through it, and it's actually quite an interesting story, and this is the part of the story that I give full credit to MVP and Nikisa Badarian and Jake on. Mike's team came to Nikisa, who's Jake's partner, in the fall of last year and brought to him the idea of doing a pay-per-view event with Mike Tyson and Jake Paul. That all spurred from a conversation that one of the executives at In Demand had with the top 12 boxing writers at a dinner that he was at with during the Canelo Charlo fight. And the question was asked at the table, what do you think the biggest pay-per-view event could be right now? And unanimously, the boxing writers said Mike Tyson and Jake Paul. So I reached out to Nikisa to have this conversation, and he said to me, we're not interested in having that conversation, but I'm working on something. Let me get back to you. Now, what's interesting is that my company has a significant amount of business with Netflix. We represented and put together the show Stranger Things, which is kind of their Cadillac show on the network when it started out to really get into original content. And right now we represent the showrunner for Outer Banks, which is really, really one of their top shows. We also represent about 10 of the top wrestlers in the business, including Drew McIntyre and CM Punk and Damian Priest and Liv Morgan. So we were very aware of what Netflix was thinking about getting into the live space. We had absolutely no idea that they were going to be interested in combat sports. And Gabe Spitzer, who runs live sports for Netflix, and Nikisa were having a conversation. Nikisa came back to me and said, in full disclosure, this is who the partner is. This is the conversation we're having. And when I went back and spoke to Mike Tyson and Kiki Tyson, it was a very, very clear yes opportunity to be on the largest streaming platform on the entire planet and make this fight accessible, not just to 6 generations of fans, but a lot of new eyeballs that would normally be watching boxing.
Okay, so there's that, but just listening to what you're saying, after Mike fought Roy Jones, a lot of us thought, okay, that was it. Is it only because the Jake opportunity, because of Netflix, sort of the perfect storm, or what else is in this for Mike? Why is he getting back in the ring other than what you just described?
So for the early years after the Jones fight, Mike was brought several opportunities to go and fight again. On, frankly, 2 of the other top streamers made offers for him to get involved. And we'd had many conversations about it. And ultimately, Mike's response was, not something I'm interested in doing right now. It would have to be very, very compelling to get back into the sport. And so when he finally was open to the idea of going back into the ring and putting himself through the training regimen that's necessary to get him prepared at a level that he finds acceptable. And that level is at a very, very high bar, obviously. It was really trying to find what was that impactful moment or event that we could harness, and that ultimately ended up being Jake Paul and Netflix.
And so when you're sitting down, Andrew, and having these conversations with Mike and his team about this fight, is part of the conversation, again, on the business side, on the branding side, bigger than just the fight, about what this can bring as far as new fans, new marketing and branding opportunities beyond the ring, so Mike can look at this more macro than micro?
Mike Tyson is in a category of one, and the level of excitement and the level of engagement that we've had from fans, from the entertainment community, from the executives at Netflix has been incomparable. And the brands have definitely seen the value of a relationship with Mike. And Mike is a really, really funny, engaging guy when it comes to working with brands. So, yes, the big part of this plan, from my perspective as the agent, is to not look at this as a one-off fighting event, but a real opportunity for Mike to become the statesman and voice in the business, and also to build out an entertainment company that will be very, very strong and not just be about live events. You know, it's already public that we've done a larger deal with Netflix, which is inclusive of a significant documentary, kind of in the vein of The Last Dance. Mike has another one-man show that he and Kiki wrote together that he is going to roll out in 2025 as well. And there are a number of scripted properties that we've taken a look at, Mike producing, including the Custom Auto Story.
So from a boxing standpoint, though, I'm going to go back to use the word you used. Is this a one-off, or is there an option for a rematch regardless of the outcome?
I would always say that with Mike, everything is on the table.
It's probably the best way to say it. Do you guys have a projection? Because I read some numbers, but you told me already about the purses, so I won't even throw the numbers out I've heard. Do you guys have an internal projection of what you think viewership is going to look like for the fight?
Look, from my perspective, and I believe this is MVP's perspective as well, I believe that this will be the most viewed sporting event in North America from a streaming perspective, from a viewing perspective, other than the Super Bowl. The largest streaming numbers ever were for Peacock last year on the Chiefs-Dolphins game, where the Dolphins didn't show up the way that I would have hoped them to show up. That was 23 million viewers that day, and my expectation is that we should triple that.
Wow. And so when you were dealing with all these negotiations, at what point did Jerry's World come into the equation?
Again, I have to attribute that to MVP. MVP brought us the idea of AT&T Stadium. We had already been having conversations with a couple of other large venues with massive guarantees. And what was very, very compelling about AT&T is it's Cowboy Stadium. It's the biggest, baddest stadium in the U.S. It is a massively large venue, and Dallas is an incredible city. So already, and it's been very public, that the gate has surpassed any combat sport, any combat event in Texas history. And frankly, by the time this is all said and done, this will be the largest gate for a combat sport, for boxing, anywhere outside of Las Vegas, Nevada, in the world.
Andrew, let me circle back for 1 second, just so my math isn't great. You said 23 million for Chiefs and Dolphins, and you didn't even say hope. Your feeling is triple that? You think 65 or 70 million people? Does that include...
I think that's entirely realistic. I mean, the conversations that I have anecdotally with people who are not in the fight business, this is an old school Mike Tyson event, or Nikisa would argue a new school Jake Paul event, but I will stick with the old time Mike Tyson event.
We agree with you on that.
When that fight would happen, it was must-see TV. People dropped everything to get together and view it. And the only way that it doesn't, in my opinion, hit the numbers that I would expect it to hit is because there are so many people that will be viewing this event together in a party-like atmosphere.
I'm guilty of that, Andrew. I have to tell you that I'm having a party Friday night at the house and having a half dozen couples over, so I apologize if your numbers don't meet your quota.
Turn on your phone. Have everyone turn on their phones and stream it on their phone
simultaneously.
See, I'll be in a sports book, so we'll have that big group of people. But let me ask you, and maybe you don't have the numbers in front of you, Andrew. Is there a projection or a number that we've seen? Has Netflix seen a subscriber jump at all, or will they have that afterwards to give a full perspective?
We'll have to get that from Netflix down the road. But I will tell you that in my conversations with the executives there, the dedication and energy that they put into marketing is really second to none. I've never seen anything like this in 27 years of being in the entertainment business. And everyone is very, very happy on their end with where we're at right now.
Yeah, I'll have to add that, in my conversations to everyone, from my kids in their 20s to friends of mine, I don't know anyone who's not rooting for Mike in this fight. I think it's an awesome opportunity for him, and I think it's. I'm happy for you too, because again, as we heard, it's not just about this fight; it's about the brand and other opportunities that are going to parlay from this. So, I think it's going to be an awesome night, and I hope Mike kicks his ass. To be honest with you,
Hadley's not pulling any punches right there.
I think that a lot of people are going to be as amazed as I am by the speed and the quickness that Mike has and the work that he put in to prepare for this fight. It is truly awe-inspiring to me. And I said this to him before, other than Tom Brady hanging up the microphone and walking out on the field to play quarterback in the Super Bowl this year, there's nothing that rivals the excitement of Mike Tyson going into the ring.
Did we get a little inside tidbit here? Is something that that we don't know yet, that we have to keep
I know less than nothing.
All right, listen, Andrew, it's a busy time for you. Best of luck. Congratulations on putting all this together, and we appreciate you spending some time with us.
Thanks, Andrew.
Thanks, gentlemen.
There's Andrew Ruff, the agent for Mike Tyson. Perfect timing on fight night. All right, coming up, we'll talk about the business of Coach Prime, and it's a booming one next. All right, Deals and Deadlines continues. Thanks again to Andrew Ruff for joining us, Mike Tyson's agent. We appreciate him spending some time right here. All right, Hadley, a couple of things I want to pick your brain about. Deion Sanders has had a nice year in year two for Colorado. Things have gotten quiet from the media front, but Colorado's kind of hanging around the playoff chase. But for his bank account, which I don't know that he needs it or not, winning has been a bonus for him. He just earned a $100,000 bonus for coaching Colorado to his 7th win a week ago. He's earned $400,000 so far in bonuses, and now gets another $100,000 for each win over the course of the rest of the regular season. So tell me about negotiating a deal like that. How do you come up with the numbers? Where do you come up with the win totals? And is it something that each side will present, or are they pretty agreeable when it comes to bonuses?
Whether you're a coach or you're a player, you're always looking to add to the base salary. And in coaches in particular, when you're with a program that hasn't won and they're paying you a handsome amount of money, you want some additional opportunities. And that's why I guess they agreed that 7 was a fair number. You'd be bowl eligible. You'd be in the upper echelon of the conference. So I think that was kind of the agreed upon number. And then if he continues to win, he makes even more money. And just like you said before with Deion, listen, money's always important with any of these guys. No matter how much you've already made, they still want to continue to make even more money. But I think Deion is continuing to build his legacy as a head coach. He took a program, or he is taking a program that wasn't discussed. Then it was only discussed because Prime was the head coach, and there wasn't much substance to it. And now they're winning. And so I think now is a chance for him to either at the end of the year, he'll sit back and his team will reevaluate exactly what the next move is. He's going to lose his son as quarterback, right? He's going to lose Travis Hunter as well. So, but I think there's a 5-star that may have just flipped over to there. So I think he's still got the opportunity to continue at Colorado if he likes it there, or he's going to have potential opportunities. Who knows what Florida State's going to do with Norvell? Does he go back to his alma mater?
Listen, there are NFL rumors already starting with Dallas and others. I don't know what his want is. I think though in Deion's case, I think he likes to conquer things. I don't know that he's going to be at one place for 5 or 10 or 15 years. I think he likes to tell people, you said I couldn't do this. Jackson State, we did it. Colorado, we've done it. Let's see what the NFL looks like.
I don't think it's Deion. I think that's most coaches. You'll see coaches that are successful in college. You take a Steve Spurrier, an Urban Meyer, and they went ahead and went to the pro ranks because they've done it. They want to see if they can do it at the next level. So I wouldn't put it by Deion to go to the NFL. I think Dallas would be, obviously Jerry Jones does things the way Jerry wants to do, right? And so I think his love affair and the history that he has with Deion, along with the fact that they're going to get a new coach, right, obviously. And so I see that happening. Are they able to draft his son? I don't know if that's going to work out perfectly.
But just think about the brands. The Dallas brand, the Star, Deion's brand. I mean, that's an owner's dream.
Yeah, I don't know if Dallas needs it. They're still, quote unquote, America's team.
But a little extra never hurt.
No. And I think it makes it more exciting.
Yeah.
And I think Deion would have to have the right coordinators with him. I think he's proven that to be a head coach, you don't need to be an X's and O's guy at the college or pro level. You need to be that manager. Now, I think Deion brings that cachet to college because it's exciting and kids want to go there. In the NFL, it comes down to money. It comes down to a salary cap. So you don't have the flexibility to recruit and bring people there. People don't necessarily want to play for Deion in the NFL. They would want to play for the Cowboys, but they're only going to play there if they can win. Yeah. And I think that it's an interesting thing because Dallas is going to have a vacancy. And I think Deion has done a job that at least his name will be brought up. At the minimum, it'll give him leverage at the college ranks, even at Colorado, to negotiate a new deal.
All right, let's talk about the business of the NBA Cup. And this was what was called the in-season tournament a year ago. And I know our intent a lot of times is to make fun of things like this, and because we don't understand it. Like the NBA midseason, now the NBA Cup, go try to read about the rules, and they're in different groups, and the payoff has nothing to do with the fan. The players get $500,000 each on the winning team. But I applaud leagues for trying things. I think because you play such a long season when you're in Major League Baseball, when you're in the NBA, and when you're in the NHL, you have to do things to try to break up the monotony of a long season because in the NBA's case, people don't tune in till after Christmas. It's just the way it's gone. So I applaud them for trying something. I don't know if this is going to work long term, but from a business perspective, they have a title sponsor for it. Vegas is in for the finals again. There's court branding. We're seeing some things that they're doing. I don't know if the players have even bought in yet, but again, the NBA is trying something.
Yeah, I think, first of all, the players are playing the game, right? I mean, I don't think it changes anything. I think what's smart about the branding and the marketing is, let's be real, we're in November. It's the early part of the NBA season. It is the heart of college football. We're in the heart of the NFL season right now, getting close to the playoffs. So, basketball is not even discussed. The fact that they've created this early season cup, this competition, aside from your win-loss record, I think brings some value. Now, will the average fan turn it on now? I don't know if that's going to change things, but at least it's something to discuss. And again, players are playing for something. They're playing for a check, to make an extra $500,000. Even though these guys are making many millions of dollars, it's still additional money. So I think there's bragging rights. I think it's great for the branding. And you're right, it'll increase some TV viewership. It gives some court awareness. It gives some marketing awareness. So I think the teams will benefit from it. And the fact that it is going to Vegas, fans love reasons to go to Vegas for any excuse. And if you can go to watch basketball, if you go to watch your team in basketball, I think it just brings value to Vegas. It brings value to the exposure. And again, because we're such a dominant football country right now with college and NFL, I think this will add some viewership and marketability for the NBA brand.
Well, they added the play-in tournament for the same sort of reason. They're trying things.
Correct.
Right? Baseball, to me, is always the last to do things. And baseball finally made some rules adjustments. They sped the game up. They did some things to try to help the viewership. And again, the NBA is kind of doing the same. So, all right, let me ask you about the NFL, which doesn't seem to want to have to do anything, although they've tweaked rules, the kickoff rules and some other things. So Christmas Day this season, we're going to get NFL football, a doubleheader, again on Netflix, as they continue to get more into the sports part of their streaming adventure. Well, this year, they're going to have the Chiefs and the Steelers and the Ravens and the Texans. But like Amazon does, they will be tracked on Nielsen ratings beyond just subscribers, just to see how the numbers look. Now, my guess is it'll be a huge rating success. It's Christmas Day. People are home. It's going to be huge. But this also helps them to monetize even more. Year one, they can project. But Hadley, if year one's a huge success, now all of a sudden in year two, Netflix can say, here's what we think we can sell these ad rates for. And then the NFL, when this TV deal comes up again, can say, look at the success that this was.
Correct. I mean, listen, at the end of the day, it's all about metrics. And this could benefit the NFL where they can now use it as leverage for a future TV deal. Again, it benefits the owners, benefits the players. Again, Christmas Day is an amazing sports day, right? I mean, now you have these NFL games. The NBA is notorious for having great NBA games. And so they're competing head to head. I think this, because it's great matchups, I think it's going to affect, the NBA viewership for that day. But I do think that this will benefit the NFL. I think the metrics are only going to be positive. I think, again, because these teams are good teams, so no matter what network they'd be on, I think there'd be great viewership. But again, it'll benefit Netflix because, again, they really want to stay in this game of streaming. It'll benefit the NFL, and it'll benefit the players.
Yeah. All right, let me ask you about one more thing. So we had this big regional TV network mess going on with Diamond Sports, who, by the way, still carries the Braves. It's the one Major League Baseball team they wanted to stay in business with. Diamond Sports now with FanDuel Sports Network. But there are other teams that they're still trying to dip their toe in the pool on and remain in contact with. But baseball has come out, and they said they have objected to the way Diamond Sports has handled their reorganization plan. They're unhappy with how the operators treated its franchises, which right now still technically airs 13 NBA teams, 9 NHL, and while the Braves are the only one that they still have a contract with, there are 3 others that are still under the heading of Diamond Sports Network or Diamond Sports Productions. The question is for these leagues and these teams, they just want their money. It used to be as simple as you carry the games, you give us a check. And if we're not getting the check, we do have to make the decision. Do we take it in-house? Do we try to then put a package together of streaming, digital, over the air? So that becomes a lot more legwork. This is much easier if Diamond Sports has the money and proves in the reorganization, yeah, we can still write you your check and everybody's happy.
Yeah, so everyone knows, Diamond Sports went into bankruptcy and now they're reorganizing, trying to come out of bankruptcy, and, it's been a mess, obviously, and it's affected multiple sports, and not just one franchise, but multiple franchises. And so it is something that the leagues are trying to work through. They really wanted a turnkey where they, Diamond Sports handled it. They got the nice paycheck, but it's become a mess. And if you're in one of those markets that isn't being treated fairly and they're putting on the back burner, it's tough. And so the leagues are going to have to make decisions. Now, the good news for baseball is they've got time until the season begins in April, right? So there's ways that they can work through things and make things happen. The NBA is in the middle of all that. And so it's tough when you're mid-season and you're also trying to work through these financial situations with the networks and trying to, again, it comes down to money.
Yep.
Yes, you want it to be easier, but at the end of the day, you want to make sure that everyone is maximizing profits. And you also want your franchisees to maximize their profits too, because the better they do, the more they want to stay involved. And, again, it benefits the league. So it has been a mess. I don't see it going away anytime soon. I think that, baseball's in the driver's seat because they already dealt with it last season, so they're able to move forward and try to work through all that stuff. I think the NBA is kind of going through the stuff that the MLB went through last year, and hopefully it'll all work through with all these regional networks.
See that big wealth of knowledge? We pick his brain every week for all the business and sports stuff. We want to remind you guys to subscribe to Deals and Deadlines. New episodes drop on Fridays, wherever it is you get your favorite pods. If you subscribe, it'll be waiting for you in your feed each and every Friday. Thanks to you guys for joining us. Another new episode of Deals and Deadlines next week. Thanks for joining us.